And if you don't, it can blow up. So this YouTube video had like the various people's grills blowing up. And I said to Kenny, how many grills have you exploded in your life?
Hello, and welcome everybody to episode 160 of the Mashup, the best bourbon conversation you're going to hear all week long as you don't listen to any other bourbon conversations. And we are your hosts, Stephen, Kenny, and Anthony.
Holy cow, that was probably the...
Well, in the absence of Stephen, I had to do something different.
You did. And I told you, I remember the one episode what I was going to do instead, but I had no warning that you were going to start. So
sorry, buddy.
You did a nice job there. I really appreciated that. And I think you have a future in being the lead on that intro. What do you think?
No, I think it's all Stephen, bro.
That is all Stephen. Well, we will miss him tonight. He couldn't be with us to record, and so you are just stuck with the handsome one, myself, and
that's why we do a podcast and not a YouTube. Our listeners don't know any better.
Oh my God! Kenny's face when I said that, he made like a little smirk.
No, you are handsome, bro.
No, I was going to say.
I'm secure enough in my manhood to say that.
Throw you a compliment and say the same thing about you. But so anyway, you are so kind with me. So the listening audience needs to know about this. So I have an old, what is it, Charbroil?
Oh boy, all right.
Yeah. So I have like an old,
I didn't know you're gonna bring this up.
Old gas grill at my house, right?
All right.
And don't forget, if you had something bourbon you wanted to say, don't forget about it, because we can get to bourbon here in a second. But I have like an old, I think when we moved into our house, it was 2014. My in-laws, bless them, they're great people, said, we want you to buy a grill. So I had never owned.
Smile for me, Dad.
There you go.
What you looking at? You want to see my grill?
There you go.
My what?
I can't believe you went through all that. That was amazing. So, yes, my in-laws wanted to buy me a grill, and they said, go buy yourself a nice grill. And to me, a nice grill was going to Lowe's or Home Depot and spending like $300-$400 on a gas grill, right?
Right.
So that grill has actually served me well. A lot of meals have been had on that grill. And it's to the point now where the bottom is rusted out.
Right.
And I have a pan underneath there
to catch
where I'm catching the grease.
Gotcha.
Just because it still works fine and the food still tastes good. So I'm like, okay. So my wife finally said, like, hey, you need to upgrade this situation. She called it. She said,
situation.
You're due for a new grill here. And I'm like, okay, yeah. So we started looking at stuff, and she said, when we go visit my brother, he is always like smoking briskets and chicken and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
And so the kids love it. When we get together with my brother, they're always like eating everything. Like, it's just insane. And so she's like, you should get a smoker. And I'm like, yeah, I could get a smoker. And I'm over there, I'm like, what can I do? So I start looking at things, and I just innocently text Kenny one day, and I said, hey, I need a new grill. And
I know a lot about grills, and I do a lot of cooking.
There you go.
I had a lot of info to share.
But the hilarity ensued because, like, I am literally asking, I don't know, what do you think of me when I'm texting you some of these things I'm saying?
I just wish you would just trust me and not the internet, because the internet's freaking stupid. There's so many idiots. There's so many idiots on the internet. Just trust me. I've already waded through it all and been there and done that. Just trust me and not old Google.
No, and here's the thing. It's not that I don't trust you. So Kenny sent me and said he was going to be potentially getting a used grill from someone. And he said this would be perfect for you because it's such an upgrade from what you have. And honestly, it may not cost anything. He said it might be free. So I said, free is a good price. And I'm like, but a used grill. I'm like, I don't know if I could get into that used grill. So we go back and forth on that. And I said a lot of stupid stuff on text. And then he said, here's what you really need to get. What was it, like $1,000?
$9.99.
$9.99. And it's a
RecTech pellet smoker. Smoker grill.
So this is like a different language to me. So I start watching videos.
Yeah, you watch as the most horrible potential. Oh, this thing can blow up. I'm just like, dude.
Yeah, so I watch all these internet videos.
I wanted to punch you in the neck when you were texting me that crap.
What to do and what not to do. And so the one that said what not to do is apparently you have to open the lid of the pellet grill, right? I'm going to lose all my credibility here when you light it. And if you don't, it can blow up. So this YouTube video had like the various people's grills blowing up. And I said to Kenny, how many grills have you exploded in your life? I love the fact that you're just like, you are such a freaking moron. So anyway, I think ultimately where we're going with this is I will have a new grill at some point in time this year, and you're going to have to show me how to use it initially.
Yeah.
And then from there, I will be okay. Because I'm
Now, if any of our Lexington area listeners are in the market for a grill,
right,
I acquired a stainless steel Holland Apex.
Okay.
It's a $1,300 grill.
Means nothing to me right now.
That will last probably 25 years.
Wow.
For free, that Anthony turned down.
Oh, come on.
So if anybody is potentially interested in a free grill, just let your boy know and we'll see what we can work out.
And I'll take all the credit for that because it was totally me that did that.
But honestly, it's actually in such great shape. I might actually keep that one and sell my other Holland instead.
There you go. See, that'd work out for you. So you can't be mad at me. So my inability to know things about grilling beyond a gas grill, which mind you, I make a mean filet.
Yeah.
I make probably the best filet in Lexington.
I don't think so. We need to blind that crap. I don't think so, bro.
We're going to blind it one day.
So,
and we're going to run it back. So, yeah, I'll take you on. But in bourbon news, one thing that I wanted to talk about, and you got to forgive us for this because I am not a member of the Mellow Moments Club. And Kenny, it was probably about, 2 weeks ago now, buddy. Was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I sent you a screenshot.
He sends me a screenshot, and my thing immediately gravitated toward, like, I said, what am I looking at here? Because it said something about becoming a board member. It said MMC board member. And I'm like, what exclusive board is Kenny part of? Like, that was my first thought process. I'm like, is he getting secret information from distilleries because he's, like, in the know? And so I was very impressed, but I was confused. And I said, what distillery is this?
Yeah. Yeah, because that's right. The actual picture I sent you didn't say specifically.
It didn't say. It just said we're introducing 2 new mash bills, and I just blacked out on the part where I thought Kenny was on a secretive Bourbon Skull and Bones board, and I was like really impressed. But then he said, "No, it was Four Roses."
4 Roses, yeah.
So what the heck's Four Roses doing, man?
Man, according to the email I got a couple weeks ago, they're having 2 new mash bills come out.
What?
They're going to have a 52% corn, 43% rye.
That's really high rye.
5% malted barley.
Okay.
So they were previously 35% was their highest rye.
I think so.
So now they have a 43% rye coming out.
And they only had 2 mash bills before, right?
No, I mean they have 10 recipes.
10 recipes, but 2 mash bills. Or no, is it?
Right. Yeah. They have a 20% rye and a 35% rye.
There you go.
Now they're going to have a 43% rye. And they're going to have a 10% rye.
Ooh.
So instead of having just 20 and 35 rye, they're now going to have a 43 rye and a 10% rye.
So like a high corn and a high rye.
Well, that's the thing. So on their 10% rye mash bill, they did not increase malted barley.
They
increased corn, 85% corn.
That's very corny, sir.
But see, it depends on how it's done. Okay. So I know we did a previous episode on that OCD number 5 or whatever.
Right, that was high corn.
And it's just way too much corn.
Yep.
But when we did the episode on Barterhouse, Barterhouse is at 86% corn.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
8% malted or 6% rye, 8% malted barley.
Okay. So
it depends on just exactly how it's done, whether high corn works or not. So it just really depends on what the other variables are with, their yeast, I guess, potentially.
Yeah.
Because, and the barrel itself.
Maybe they can introduce some new yeast strands, too, and then we'll have, how many recipes? You think Four Roses is going to have 400 recipes?
I saw them out collecting yeast off the trees.
There you go.
The yeast off the trees.
Favorite thing to do, go out in the morning, get the yeast off the bushes. Yeah.
But, so that's something that we could have talked about last week, but we were busy talking about other stuff.
Yes, exactly.
We know people don't listen to us for like facts anyway, so whatever is whatever.
And there's people who'll listen and they'll be out at the store one day and go, "When did Four Roses come out with a new mash bill?" And be like, "Well, all the stuff that you listen to and the press releases they put out and everything else." But
honestly, they could be like Steven listening to this 3 months from now, and so it wouldn't be fresh news anyway. So
the man's not even here to defend himself. How dare you?
He told us he was behind on a few episodes.
Yeah, he always does that. We get together to record, and he's like, "I'm 2 weeks behind," and we're like, "So you didn't even listen to this past week?" And he's like, "Nope." we're like, all right, okay.
I was busy.
Yeah, I know, but he's busy. We're all busy, and it's a lot of fun to harass him, especially when he's not here. Well, when he comes back, he can defend himself then if he's listened.
If he's listened by then,
he can defend
if
himself.
not, he'll be mad in August at us.
I finally listened. How dare you?
He's gonna kill us for that.
I know, it's all good. Yeah, all in good fun.
Yeah, all in good fun.
Yeah, so actually this week, for the first time in a long time, we didn't have a formal review shout-out, but because of the bottle that we have tonight, I do have to acknowledge two people in a shout-out.
So who's your shout-out this week?
So the shout-out this week is actually two people that I mentioned back during the Old Fitz episode. So a grad student in my program at UK and his brother-in-law were in town. They were in town for a conference, and I mentioned that they wanted, or that Josh's brother-in-law, Martin, so it's Josh and Martin, he was looking at some of the bottles that I had, and I told you about the story I gave him to Fitz for to make like an infinity bottle. We had a good laugh about that because we didn't want to refilling it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so they're from the Chicago area, and in Chicago, you got your big retailers like Binny's and other places like that, but you're looking at a lot of inflated prices if you can find anything at retail, right? Because they're not state controlled either. So it's times like Josh will send me a screenshot and be like, I'm at the store, goodbye or not. And I'm like, no, not at all. But see, the thing is I would call them both like beginner to like getting toward more intermediate bourbon people. Mm-hmm. So they do have a lot of good bottles, but they also... there's times they've opened bottles and they're like, man, we have a little group text going and be like, we overpaid for this. I'm like, okay. So when they were down,
easy to do, man.
It is. It's really easy to do.
Dude, it's so easy to do. Yes. I've done it so many times myself.
Oh, man.
So many times.
You know how you talked a while back about shortening the bourbon phase? Like you said, you're in a phase and you got to shorten that as much as possible. I did the same thing where I would just buy like random bottles because I thought they looked good or I thought they'd be good. Some I probably haven't even opened still. But the ones that I did, it was probably like a 1 in 4 chance or 1 in 5 chance that something was good.
Yeah.
And that was like not good odds. And so...
Well, when you sent me the show notes for tonight's episode, I've got one of those stories. So later on tonight, I'm going to reveal as well. Okay. It's the same stuff, bro.
All right. Well, I can't wait to hear that. And so that's the shout out that I want to give to Martin and Josh for providing this bottle that we're going to review tonight. So the bottle that we have for tonight is the Very Olde St. Nick Ancient Cask 8-year-old Rye Whiskey. And this comes to us from the Old St. Nick Distillery. And even though it says the Old St. Nick Distillery, what this really is the Preservation Distillery in Bardstown, Kentucky. The fine print on the bottle says it's a product of Canada. The ABV on this bottle...
Canada.
Give me the national anthem of Canada. Kenny's got it. The ABV on this bottle is 43.4. The proof is 86.8. The age is 8 years. Let me get a pop here. Ooh. So 8 years. The mash bill is unknown. Because this is Canadian whiskey, there's a lot of differences in the way Canadians, I guess, the specs they have on their whiskey by law. And so this could be aged in multiple barrels in different places. We have no idea because they don't adhere to the same standards as U.S. whiskeys. But get this, Kenny, the MSRP on this bottle that Josh and Martin left for me is $175 at Total Wine.
Ooh.
My favorite store.
So a Raconteur Rye is 7-year, 129.
Exactly. So what do you think about this bottle in and of itself?
Absolutely gorgeous. I like this. It's the old script writing.
Right.
I like the darker bottle, versus being a clear bottle. I like the darker bottle. And very blessed and fortunate to have had so many bourbons and whiskeys in my short time into bourbon. But this is one of the bottles and one of the brands that I honestly stay away from usually because I don't know enough about them.
Right.
Because I'll see some of these bottles that are evidently fire amazing and some other ones are, and I'm just like, why did I see this get instant bend at whatever $1,500 and all of a sudden something that looks similar sitting at Liquor Barn, because I don't really go to Total Wine. It's I really don't. Sitting at Liquor Barn. Either. It's been a Liquor Barn's glass cabinet now for 3 weeks. Why is it still sitting there? So this is one that kind of eludes me a little bit.
Yeah, and here's the thing I'll say about this. When Kenny was talking about the beautiful script on the bottle, we're going to talk in a moment about Very Olde St. Nick as a brand and why this label and everything carries a lot of cachet. the shape of the bottle is something I want to talk about, because as I look around at all the different bottles that you have, when we talk about the wine bottle, we're usually always talking about the BTAC style bottle.
Yeah.
But this is a different kind of wine bottle. This looks like the Pinot Noir bottle that you get from Trader Joe's.
That 100% is a wine bottle.
It's a wine bottle. And so that's actually pretty cool. But I think that the fact that it has like the thin top and the fat body here as I smack it off the microphone actually lends well to displaying the label nice. And Very Old St. Nick is smoking his corncob pipe. Now, I know there's pictures
I just saw that.
of Santa Claus smoking his pipe, but maybe this is actually Pappy Van Winkle in disguise. What do you think?
Julian Van Winkle.
Julian has dressed as Santa Claus and is smoking a pipe on the front of the bottle, but it looks old. It looks cool. The bottle definitely is something that you won't be disappointed with in terms of the look it gives you, the aesthetic.
Yeah, it's very pretty.
Yeah. So, Kenny, what do you know about Very Old St. Nick, the modern version of Very Old St. Nick?
So, the modern version, I don't think I've had any of them.
Really? Not a single one?
Not a single one. I'll take it back. All right, so I've had a couple 375 milliliters.
Okay.
From, we'll just say, a guy named Frickles.
Oh, yeah, Frickles.
And I had a 750 milliliter bottle from said Frickles.
Yep.
That were great, but they were like 17 year, 19 year old.
Right.
Even though they were just released in the last 6 months to a year. So I've had a few of those, and I believe that was supposed to be like older tanked Heaven Hill, Stitzel, something. It was more like Willet vibes, just like how like actually Willet source stuff. So supposedly maybe Bernheim, Stitzel, blah, 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 stuff like that.
Right.
And that's all I've had that's kind of quote unquote modern is some older tanked stuff. And then I did have a dusty, like a truly older version of this. I cannot remember who, I can't remember if that was at Jay Hobber or Frickles again, but so I just shied away, man. I don't know enough about it to know what to buy and not to buy.
Okay. So, what's interesting? I remember having one of these in total, and I think it was the same exact night that Frickles had it out, and I think it was Old Heaven Hill stuff that was in one of these bottles, but it was a more modern version. So if you go to their website, the brand website says that Old St. Nick specializes in the art of producing superior bourbon and whiskey in small batches. And we say small batches, they say 1 to 3 barrels, okay? Which is interesting. But you're right, it's not a new brand. And we say it's not a new brand. The actual label, Very Old St. Nick, has been around since 1984. And the brand was created by one Marcy Palatella for the Japanese market. So Marcy worked with bourbon producer Julian Van Winkle. There is his name again, right? To basically produce stuff for the Japanese market exclusively. And what's interesting about that is they were using old Stitzel juice, other things like that. And so when you see all the Old St. Nick bottles that are popping up on Facebook, when there's, the secondary markets in different places, sorry, not Facebook, usually the stuff that people are after is the older stuff from the 80s, right? That was export only. That's the stuff they're looking for. It's typically not the new stuff, but I think that in creating the brand and reviving the label, I think they've created the right amount of confusion to where people that are just getting into bourbon will see this Very Old St. Nick label and go, dang, that's the stuff. I saw this going for thousands of dollars, right? And so it creates confusion, I guess, in a good way if you're Preservation Distillery, in a bad way if you're a consumer that thinks you're going to get something that might taste exactly like the old stuff did, which I don't know if that exists,
Same thing with that Rare Perfection, man. Like
Don't get me started. Is that what your story was going to be about Rare Perfection?
It's a different one.
Okay.
I'm not going to break into it. Wattie Boone and Sons.
Okay.
I saw one that somebody had somewhere, had my brother stop and pick it up, opened it up. Man, it was $80, $120.
Oh yeah, pretty expensive stuff. Yeah,
sold for $20.
You really
sold for $20?
Oh man.
And then I got a couple Wattie Boones. I had another one though that was 9 year, 120 proof. That actually wasn't bad though.
Okay.
But and then the Rare Perfection stuff. There's a one local liquor store out towards Hamburg that had it, and it was like said 14 year and something. And this was when I was only been into bourbon for like 6 months, a year.
So that's probably the first release.
I didn't pull the trigger.
That's probably the first release.
I almost did, but I was like, that's expensive. And did some more research on it.
Right.
And I think it ended up being just like blended Canadian whiskey. They're charging like $180, $200 for or something.
Kenny, why did you have to bring that up? That's a sore spot for me, man.
Was that the one that you bought?
So listen, I was into whiskey. and I kind of fell for everything. When I say I fell for it, I want to give a little bit of respect to the brand here, because the person who started Very Old St. Nick, Marcy Palatella, right? I have talked to people who know way more about bourbon than I do, and they talk about how many great releases that she was behind. Okay.
Right.
They say like she's legendary to bourbon game. So not taking anything away from her. So I see that Preservation starts her distillery. They're taking the old labels, because Rare Perfection is another one of the old labels. Like there's old Rare Perfection bottles out there from the 80s in export markets. And they were like, I think 150 to 160 for the white label, and maybe the black label was like 200 or 220. Is that about right? Maybe it was
expensive, dude.
It may have been 130 and 180, but it was not cheap at the time. And I bought the white label one, I think. I can't remember if I started with the white label or the black label. But anyway, I bought the one, and I opened it, and I actually didn't mind it too much. And that's why the order is very important here. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was actually the lower proof one, so it's probably the white label one. And I was like, oh, that's not bad. And I got really interested in the black label one, which was more expensive. So I actually went out at the time and bought it from Happy Hour Liquor when Rothke owned Happy Hour Liquor up there, right?
Yeah.
And so I went and bought that bottle and got it home and tasted it, and it tasted like nothing I've ever tasted in my life, and not in a good way. It was like 125 or 130 proof or something like that. It was high proof Canadian whiskey, and it was just weird all around. So I feel like I fell for a little bit of the marketing there, ended up spending a lot of money on 2 bottles. And I think that what ended up happening with one of them might still be in Steven's basement. To tell you the truth, I think one of those bottles is still in Steven's basement, not because we tasted it on an episode, but because I think we put it out for Halloween, because I didn't like it that much, and I wanted to see if anybody else did, and nobody did. And so, yeah, I got caught up in that too, man.
I did. Well, for me on that one, I did not. I got caught up in the Wattie Boone's.
Yeah.
But that one I passed on.
Okay.
Yep. So, based on my experience with the Wattie Boone.
Yep.
And based on your experience with the Rare Perfection, and based on the fact you told me this is a $175 bottle of Canadian.
Yeah. That was gifted to me.
I'm not going into this with a very positive outlook. Well, but I'll be honest, I will be objective.
Why don't we do this first? Let's start nosing. You want to go for a nose in here? Yeah, let's go for a nose in here.
Well, fellas, let's go for our first nose.
Honoring Steven's call there. I like that. So right off the bat, 86 proof. It's definitely 86 proof. It's hard to get a lot of nose out of this, but the nose that I am getting is nothing offensive. It doesn't nose like a rye, I'm not going to lie. Do you get any rye in there?
No.
Yeah, it almost noses like a lighter bourbon nose, I would say. Almost kind of has like a little bit of, is that coconut?
I wish I had some Traveler here.
There you go. That would be a good comparison.
To play comparisons.
Do you mean to tell me you didn't go buy a bunch of Travelers?
It's just so funny that all those people that paid, I feel so sorry for them. They paid high dollar secondary when it's just sitting on the shelves.
They should have listened a little bit more.
Should have listened to us, man. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I don't think any of us said we were buys, right? We were all tries or I passed. I said I could.
I even might have been a buy, but I was a buy or try because it wasn't bad.
It's not bad if you like that sort of thing. Yeah.
Also $39, not people that are paying $80 to $100 secondary when it first came out. Poor people.
Well, all I can really pull from this nose is like maybe a little bit of like a weird coconut note, but also some like light fruits like apple maybe. I'm not getting a whole lot of anything. The nose is just kind of muted. I don't know. You pulling anything out there, Kenny? I know you're not the nose guy, but
I haven't popped it and I'm not getting much.
Yeah, so right now, not a whole lot coming out. But see, that's kind of the thing with me, man. When I think about Preservation,
I just popped it again, though. I got maybe a little bit of apple.
Apple?
It's weird.
Yeah.
For a rye to have apple, is that right or no?
I don't know. Sometimes ryes have a little bit of stewed fruit to them. That's kind of what I was getting to, like is some kind of a...
Yeah, just popped it again and got a little bit like
a little bit of orchardy, kind of like fall sort of nosing to it. So maybe a little bit of orchard spices, a little bit of coconut. That's a coconut thing. It's throwing me off a little bit. So when you think about Preservation Distillery, what's interesting about them is if you go online, first of all, they have like 400 or 500 reviews, almost 5 stars. So people go there and they like it. But it's kind of setting off the highway right up there off the parkway, right? Between Bardstown Bourbon Company.
See, I haven't been, but it's in that area.
Yeah, it's in that area. You can see it. You can see it off the highway. But, as I mentioned before, Marcy Palatella, she was the person that, sort of dreamt this up and grabbed this barn up, this old tobacco barn, and it became the distillery in 2014. I think they started producing, and when I say producing, I use that word lightly because they were sourcing stuff, and I think they still do primarily source stuff. They started putting their product out, like I think around 2019, 2020. Does that sound about right, Kenny? I think it was, because you said when you started in bourbon, so I think 2020-ish. That's when those things were first hitting. A lot of fanfare at the beginning. Again, no disrespect. If anybody's visited out there, it seems like people are having a good experience out there. But
I've heard, so Frickles got several bottles from there of their more recently released, but it was tank stuff.
Right.
A few of his friends were actually there in person on site.
Okay.
They loved it.
Really?
So it's like a nice place. They have a lot of good pours I believe you can purchase while you're there and stuff.
Right.
So it's cool. I'm just not a fan of the Wattie Boone and the Rare Perfection that I had and you had kind of stuff. So, it's I don't know if it's one of those, just like, and I'm not, like I said, not trying to pick on anybody at all.
Right.
But I've had at least 3 different people I know.
Right.
That went to do a pick at a particular distillery that is very well known.
Okay.
I know more people, but I have 3 people specifically that went and did a pick that literally walked away without buying a barrel.
Really?
So think about that. You'll never get invited back again. That's
so
how.
You're not talking about preservation. You're talking about somewhere else.
Somewhere else.
Okay.
Because the new stuff coming out that they had to pick from, was their own juice.
Yep.
So I'm not saying that preservation is making their own, but what they're offering today, I don't think is not the same as their old stuff that got them their name.
Right.
Because there's a particular distillery in northern Kentucky.
Okay.
That is known for some just amazing MGP stuff.
Oh, I know who you're talking about, but we won't say their name.
I'm not going to say their name.
Yep.
But now that they have their own stuff out, I've had people that went there and picked, and they still picked it even though they didn't really like it or want it. But I know 3 different groups that literally walked away and said,
Yikes.
"Nope, not happening."
Yeah, if you're walking away from a pick, then you got to be talking about some stuff that's not very good.
Man. So
So if we think about this, and I want to do this before we get into tasting this because I think it's very important. So we talked about Rare Perfection. We talked about Wattie Boone and Sons. They also have, of course, Very Old St. Nick's for tasting tonight. Then they also have something called Pure Antique. You ever heard of Pure Antique?
I have had a Pure Antique.
Yes.
That was like pre-fire Heaven Hill or Bernheim juice from 80s, 90s, something like that.
So it was something that was actually the old school.
But I've not had any current Pure Antique.
So I scoured the internet for Pure Antique, and I'm not giving plugs for anybody, but like there was a point in time, have you ever heard of Blackwell's wines in California?
I have not.
Okay, so back when the bourbon boom was crazy, and you couldn't even get things like Sazerac rye here, it was cheaper for me to buy like 6 Sazerac ryes from California and have them shipped here than it was for me to buy them off the shelf if I could find them in Kentucky. Because I remember like even Liquor Barn would charge like $42, $43 for a Sazerac rye. And it was like, it showed up like, 3-4 times a year at best, and it would sell out. Now it's, thank God, an on-the-shelf product. But anyway, so I found the new version of Pure Antique on Blackwell's wines when I was looking for information about it, because I've never seen it on a shelf in Kentucky. I've seen Wattie Boone, I've seen Rare Perfection, and I've seen Old St. Nick, but I've never seen Pure Antique. It's 17 or 18-year-old juice, and it's supposed to be, some, I think, bourbon, like not a Canadian whiskey or something else. So, but it was also $300 or $400 a bottle.
Yeah.
So
now, I'll have to ask, but Michael M.H. Harris, MH?
Yeah.
He had a Pure Kentucky that was not like the old school Dusty I'm talking about.
Not Pure Kentucky, Pure Antique.
I'm sorry, Pure Antique.
Yeah, Pure Antique.
Sorry. Okay. I thought he had a Pure Antique. He might not, his might have been Pure Kentucky. But he had something I thought was this, but it was like, not like the old school Dusty, but it wasn't like a brand new modern.
Right.
I'll have to double check with him and see if that's what it was. But he had something I thought was that. It was actually not bad, but it was from like 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay. Well, you know what's crazy? Like literally
facts optional.
All these bottles carry extremely high price tags. And the stuff that you were talking about, like the old stuff, that was usually a once a year thing where they were like taking some old Stitzel tank juice and releasing it in a 375 bottle, and it was like $600 to $800, $1,000 a bottle for a 375. Remember that?
Yeah, and even the recent release was very expensive for 375.
Yeah, we're not talking about like when these things that. Okay, so this bottle at Total Wine we mentioned we're going to taste right now was $175. This really should be like their budget bourbon compared to the premium stuff that they're releasing. because so they released a couple of those and Old Heaven Hill and stuff like that. I don't even know what the cheapest is. I think Wattie is the cheapest. So Kenny, would you like to go in for a taste, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Moment of truth has arrived. A lot of talking about this brand, but moment of truth is here.
It's sweet and desserty.
Yep. It's definitely sweet and desserty. So it's kind of a fruity.
It's fruity.
It's fruity, and then it has like a...
That's a good point. So it is a fruit sweetness.
It's a fruit sweetness up front, and then it has a little bit of that like... I'm sorry, man. I don't know what it is. I hope I can get my palate checked. I'm getting a little bit of coconut. But the coconut is the same thing I got from the Cask Strength Rare Perfection. Like, I mean, I'm talking like Mounds Bar coconut chocolate. And that was also Canadian sourced rye, but it was also like a cask. Like, 40 proof points higher than this. So this is definitely not, I don't think, the same stuff. I wonder if they sourced it from the same place. They did spin some story about the Rare Perfection, about how these were like forgotten about barrels at a closed down distillery that they were happened to be lucky to come upon. So I wonder if they're still working at angle with this stuff or not. There's nothing offensive about it, but I don't know. It doesn't really taste. Does it taste like a rye to you?
No. That's what I was going to say. So I'm not close to saying pass try by, but what I'm going to say on this is if you have somebody that like is not really, that says they're not into bourbon,
right,
or they're not into rye, I could see them really liking this.
Yep.
It's just fruity, desserty, sweet, not much ethanol. It's not bad.
Right. It's a different kind of an animal. 86.48 proof or whatever it is. I mean, there's not a lot to it. There's not a lot there, but there's also not a lot that you dislike, right? It's just kind of in the middle.
Yeah. I mean, but I
will say, though, that little bit of after the initial fruit sweetness, it's still desserty. It's like a sweet coconut flavor, but it's still kind of something that really turns me off a little bit about the finish.
But you are anti-Canadian anyway. You don't like it. Remember, we actually talked about that in the Traveler episode.
You know what's interesting, though? I'm not anti-Canadian. I just tend to not like the flavors as much. I used to drink a lot of Canadian whiskey, like blended, like Crown Royal and stuff like that. There's still some Crown Royal that are some banger things that Crown Royal makes. Yeah. But they make so many different things. But when it comes to rye, the only Canadian rye that I knowingly have liked was Alberta Premium. I liked Alberta.
Dude, Alberta Cask Strength?
Yeah, the cask, yeah.
It's fire.
Yeah. No, I like that a lot.
I think I even tried to sell one locally for like $60, even though they're like $90 retail.
Right.
Nobody bend it.
Exactly.
Like, you're all lost, man. You have no idea. That Alberta Cask Rye is very good.
Alberta Cask Rye is good, and I've
got one down there.
There you go. Perfect. And I like some of the ultra-aged Canadian whiskeys, too. Like, there's some J.P. Weiser's discontinued stuff that I have that was pretty good. 25, 30, or some year old. 35, actually. J.P. Weiser's 35-year-old Canadian rye. I have one of those, and I have some other releases. So Canadian whiskey is interesting, but I do pick up a coconut note more on Canadian whiskeys than any other type of whiskeys, which is interesting. I wonder what is the reason for that.
Man, that I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's just my palate when I hear or see Canadian.
I would speculate, but we have such a good track record on being factual that I don't want to speculate on that.
Don't you dare.
Don't want to do it.
Man. So, what are you thinking, Kenny? Are you ready for pass try by here, or do you want to do you have anything else you want to talk about? Do you want to?
I do have something to talk about.
Yes,
but
please.
Before that, I want to pour a blind to go against this.
Really?
Yes.
You want to blind this?
Yep.
Okay. I got a clean glass, so why not?
All right.
Well, whatever you just poured me, I don't like the nose of it. So you have too much of that for that to be something that
you don't like the nose of it.
I don't think so.
All right.
Yeah. About to trash this. I'm about to rubbish this whiskey. It's gonna get rubbished.
Almost has something to get me canceled.
No, I don't like the nose of that. Not at all. What have you done, Kenny? It's higher proof, and are you trying to make me like St. Nick better?
I think you're pulling my leg here.
Oh, yeah? Let's see. Maybe I am. No, I'm not.
Well, you go in for a little sippy sip, and I go in for a little sippy sip.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay. I had to get the glass coated. The nose is a little bit better now.
Let me see. What you say? Oh, yeah, for that. I think so.
Yeah. Whatever you poured blind here, I've changed my mind. When I sip it, it's got like the craziest thing going on. It starts fruity, and ends like a nice cinnamon baked good in such a pleasant way. It's either a cinnamon baked good or like a very light flavor of a cinnamon candy. I'm getting this like just delectable.
This makes me warm and fuzzy and taking me to a happy place.
There you go. Oh,
Does it not?
It's got a lot going on. Like it's made me think about nostalgia. It's
There you
very
go.
nostalgic. Yeah. So I don't know what's going on here. It's very good though. It's like it's amazing.
Is that a good blind to put against this?
I don't know if it is or not because I think whatever the blind is much better than what we're drinking. So if your intention was to make the future whiskey better, you failed because you did not. Actually, I'm going to go back to the Old St. Nick here and see what happens.
You're not going to like it when you go back to it.
Oh, yeah?
Let's go. I'm going to go back to it as well.
Nope. Still got the fruity, but it's watery, and the finish is like a weird, I don't know, the finish just lacks depth all around. It's like a, yeah. Hate to say
But it's fruity and sweet.
It's sweet. It still has the sweet characteristics. It's the finish that kills it for me.
And I go back to like what we talked about a few episodes ago. I mean, like, what is this, 86 proof?
Yeah, 86 proof. Yeah. You don't want to be a proof hound.
Who needs non-alcoholic stuff when you have this? Like, I'm seriously.
Don't you dare.
I mean, you can just drink this all day and not get drunk.
That's right.
All right. So you want to do pass, try, buy, and then the blind reveal, or do blind reveal first?
You know what? Your choice, because you dealt the blind. So I want you to pick, sir.
All right. So we're going to reveal the blind first.
Okay.
So I told you going into it when you sent the show notes over,
right?
And I was like, oh, they're tied to Rare Perfection. Ooh, they're tied to Wattie Boone and Sons. And you said this is $175 8-year Canadian.
Right.
Didn't have high expectations.
Right.
So what I did for the blind was I said, you know what? Let's have some good whiskey tonight.
Oh.
This is a 2010 Van Winkle Family Reserve Rye. This is nice.
What? Why'd you do that?
Because I wanted something good instead of this 8-year-old crap from Canada. I don't know why I'm yelling like Mossick, but I just did.
Oh, my God.
So this is 95.6 proof. This is 19-year-old tanked. They say tanked Medley, Cream of Kentucky, Bernheim. So this is 19-year-old tanked, but it's 2010 Van Winkle Family Reserve Rye.
Holy cow, man.
95.6 proof.
Why in the world?
Because I wanted something good instead of 8-year-old Canadian stuff for $175 freaking dollars.
Oh, that's it. You know what's interesting about that you just did that blind? I was pulling your leg when I was saying nasty stuff about the nose and stuff like that, but literally the flavor of that is night and day. So good.
So when I take a sip of that,
right,
it puts a calming over my whole body.
Right.
No, it truly like.
I was going to take
No, you truly.
I want to know if I could take it in a travel cup.
Dude, I'm telling you, man. If
Save it for some later time.
Yeah, if any of our listeners can get a chance to taste some, basically 2015 and older, definitely. Maybe 2016. Need to check with Alves or look online, but definitely 2015. Sorry, 2015 down to 2009. Any of those, man. It's just it's different, man.
Right.
It gives you. And when I drink it, it just literally is like, whew.
That's so good.
It's like a big exhale.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I take it you're ready for pass, try, buy.
I've been ready, bro.
All right. Do you
pass?
Do you want me to go and just pass?
How about you go first and I go second?
Okay, here I'm going to go. Ready?
All right.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. Because a vision softly creeping.
With that kind of lead up, what do you think I'm going to do?
I don't know.
So here's what I'm going to say. I don't think this whiskey is bad, but I do think it's bad for $175. And I don't often make that judgment call when it comes down to price, because there is no way on this earth that I would try to spend $175 knowing what this tastes like. And I honestly don't think that our friends who provided us with this bottle had any idea either. They probably just saw this bottle in Chicago. It's probably $400 in Chicago. They come to Kentucky and see it at retail at $175 and buy it. So while it does have redeeming qualities, I'm going to pass because I would not buy this under any circumstances. And I'm kind of wondering now what I'm going to do with the rest of this bottle.
Yes. So if you, and that's why I'm going to go second here. If you were to just pour this and drink this, I think the average person will like this and enjoy this. But I think they would like it and enjoy it if it was a $29 to $39 bottle. So I'm at 100%, actually 100, as biggest percent you can get, I'm 100% pass on this because it's $175.
Right.
I mean, this is it's a fruit sweet. If someone doesn't like rye, someone doesn't like bourbon, I think they would like this.
Right.
As just a wine cooler sweet drink.
Yeah.
Because it's only 86 proof, but that's if it's like $29 or something, you know?
Right, I was gonna say,
not
even-
$175.
Even then, if you're seeking that flavor out, you're not going to spend $175 for it.
Nah.
I think if you spend $175 for this whiskey, you're disappointed.
You'd ready to go back to the store and run your vehicle through the front window or something, the front door. This is horrible for that
I was
price.
trying to slow walk it up a little bit.
Nah,
Be a little
man.
intense there.
So I would be a buy if this was $29, but
Right.
I'm a pass at $175.
Yep. And I'm really starting to wonder if this is the same source of the stuff that I had that was Rare Perfection, because that's the other thing about this. If you look at what they're doing now, they don't just have a Very Old St. Nick rye. They have a summer rye. They have a harvest rye. They have a conviction or something else.
Yeah.
They have all these different things, and that's the thing. One of these might be good. I don't want to just say bad things about the whole entire brand.
Oh, exactly.
One of these could be good.
Definitely.
Just like those limited releases that are 375s and everything else. I just feel like there's too much confusion for me to know what's good and what's not. I can't take a chance. Like, full disclosure here, during the height of COVID, somebody was selling a 13-year-old Very Old St. Nick cast strength bourbon, which was 107 or 108 proof. That bottle was $400 in the store. They were selling it for $275. And guess who went to a parking lot and bought it for $275?
Adam Sandler.
Yep, I did. Right. I went over there and I bought it, and that bottle, I still have it. I haven't opened it yet, but I guarantee you now after tonight, that bottle is not worth $275. It can't be.
Man, but it could be.
It could be.
Because
it's 13-year-old Kentucky bourbon.
13-year-old Kentucky.
It is 13-year-old Kentucky
That could
bourbon.
be a freaking like a 13-year-old cash strength Barton or something.
It probably is, to tell you the truth.
And think about Blue Rum when they put out some 13, 14-year-old
That's
Barton.
True.
It's fire.
I think we could have another episode
That's
in the future.
confusing part about all of this.
dang
So that's why we try to be honest with what we do. Yeah. That's why we try to review various bottles so our listeners can try to somewhat weed through some of these it's hard. It's tough.
And I would say
It's
if you're going
tough.
to buy anything that's Very Old St. Nick, you better read up as much as you can about it, because if I'm looking at a $175 bottle that's in an Ancient Cask 8-year-old, I feel like Ancient Cask makes it feel like it's cast strength, but I don't know if this is or not.
At $75, I'd be pissed.
Yeah,
Not just $175.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, this is.
Like I said, it is not bad, but this is like a wine cooler. It's like a Bardstown James wine cooler sweetness.
I still can't believe you poured it.
2010 Van Winkle, baby. I want to have something good tonight, man. You know what I'm saying?
I mentioned Julian Van Winkle and you delivered. I mean, my God,
true.
dude. What
That's
the
true.
heck? So we got 2 passes here, and I guess what? If you're going to go visit Preservation, you should proceed with caution.
I've heard visiting their distillery is actually a great experience. I heard that it's really pretty, it's neat, and they have a lot of good pours for a good price while you're down there.
Well, what do you say that you and I make a summer trip to Preservation and take your Van Winkle rye up there?
I would go, but I believe you are literally on vacation 90% of the time this summer. So I don't know if that will work out or not. And with that, thank you. Good night.
And with that, thanks for listening to this week's edition. Please like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Mashup KY.
Don't forget to visit our partner, bourbonoutfitter.com. Enter code The Mashup for a special discount.
Also,
Head on over to our partner, the Woodwork Collective, at woodworkcollective.shop. Enter code MASHUP for a 15% discount.
let us know your thoughts on this bottle in the comment section. Until next time, keep it neat.